Why I am worried about Dean the Great. Okay, so last night, as many of you know, Aiden Ross held a boxing event. It was Brand Risk Promotions number 4. And Dean the Great had a fight against Pulley Arif. Now, for me, it was probably the worst version of Dean the Great that we have seen. And within the context of that, I have to say, I think Dean the Great is arguably the best influencer boxer that there is. Obviously, he's only had 5 fights, so that's not absolutely loads. But what we've seen him display against Waleed, what we've seen him display against Mr. Fogarty over in Ireland, like, I just feel like Dean really has something. His counter punching, his speed, clearly his power, his resilience, his chin. Like, I think Dean's got so much on his side that really puts him at the upper echelon of the influencer boxing space. I think he's great. But yesterday was the worst I've seen him. Pulley Arif is a good fighter. He's somebody who loves boxing. He trains hard. Obviously, for this fight, he was with Coach Sol as well, who's taken Salt Pappy from the ground to where he is now. So Sol clearly is a good coach as well. However, I think before it, we all would have said we'd expect Dean to win that fight and win that fight easily. And in actual fact, it was anything but easy. I had Dean comfortably winning round 2. I had Pulley comfortably winning round 3. And I thought in the first round, Dean looked the most comfortable and he looked like he was in charge in the ring. And Pulley looked really nervous, really apprehensive, and was moving around unnecessarily too much, biting on fakes way too much. However, he was throwing and he was landing shots, and I'd be really interested to see the punch count, because there's a potential that actually Pulley touched Dean more than Dean touched him in that round 1. So when it came to the final decision, Dean got the victory, and I'm like, 2-1 to Dean is something I can definitely see. I'm not mad at it, but we would have expected it to be a way more conclusive result. Now, why I'm super worried for Dean is I think he's got a real problem with his hand. He broke his hand fighting against Waleed, right? And he had surgery on it, had some time out of the ring. And when Misfits went over to Ireland and Dean fought again, in that fight, everything Dean did was a pull counter with the right hand. And I know that that's Dean's favourite punch, but I saw barely any jabbing. I saw barely any left hooks upstairs, occasionally just to the body, which is a softer part. If you had an injury, you'd be more comfortable hitting the body than hitting the head. And I remember seeing the fight and thinking, this is a bit strange. I don't think his hand is fully recovered. Either it hadn't fully recovered, or maybe he was still tentative about it and looking to protect it. But, you know, sometimes you have an injury, you think you've healed from it, and then in sparring, 2 to 3 weeks out from the fight, you re-aggravate it. And at that point, you have a decision to make. Do you pull out of the fight, or do you just soldier on and keep going? Which I believe is what Dean did, to his credit. But watching that fight, even though he won it and won it well, I was like, you're not 100%. And then yesterday against Pulley, round 1, Dean was kind of taking liberties, to be honest with you. He felt like he was levels above. And I feel like he never put his foot down on the pedal. Never was in trouble at all. He just looked like he was messing around. And Pulley may have stolen the round, potentially, I thought a judge may see. He came out for the second round and it seemed like his corner had put a rocket in his backside, because he was way more assertive and way more aggressive and really started to let his hands go and start walking Pulley down. It was what I expected to see from the fight. But then lo and behold, in round 3, the left hand was gone again. And Dean started fighting out of a southpaw stance. And obviously, if you fight southpaw with an injured left hand, it gives you the ability to jab still. It gives you the ability to control the range and the distance still. And you have a right hook that you can throw with some power because you're naturally right-handed. But it takes away you throwing a backhand, which is obviously further away because you're in an open stance match against somebody else. But I'm like, he's not there because he wants to be. This is not a tactical thing. He's there because his hand is hurt. And in round 3, a more powerful fighter may have done some real damage to Dean, because Pulley was all over him at times. And like I said, I rate Pulley, but not to the degree that he should be able to pressure Dean like that. Like, he made Dean look average, and Dean is anything but average. Like, I have to say that. I have to give this a context of Dean is nowhere near average in my eyes. I really do think he's special at our level. But I'm worried that that hand injury that he got has not healed up properly. And he has not been at 100% since, because I've seen him in the ring twice now since then, and I don't believe he's been at 100% on either occasion. Now, it's testament to how good he is that he's not been at 100% and he still won his last 2 fights and he hasn't been hurt in them. Although there was a moment yesterday when Putty countered him and really put some shots together, but I was like, whoa, I hadn't seen Dean eat punches like that before. But overall, there was no time where Dean was rocked or anything like that. But I don't know where he goes from here. Obviously, there was the unceremonious fallout with Misfits, which must have been somewhat sorted out because Misfits allowed him to fight on brand risk. So, okay, cool. That's got to be a good thing there. There's the Lil Cray Cray fight. There's the Lil Cray Cray fight, as obviously he was the winner of a lightweight tournament. But Dean's already said he didn't want that fight because the money wasn't enough, etc., etc., etc. So I'm wondering, is he in a situation where he's like, I just need to make as much money as possible right now because I don't think my hand's ever going to be the same again. So therefore, let me rinse myself for what I can get whilst I can. And if that is the case, then look, you have to respect it and you have to understand it, because obviously boxing, unfortunately for some people, it can be a short shelf life. Like, it's your body that you're putting on the line. It's your health that you are risking every single time you step in that ring. And clearly not just from receiving punches, but also from throwing them as well. So you guys let me know what you think. Am I overlooking into this? Am I being dramatic here? What have you seen? Because from my perspective, I think he's genuinely still impaired. That left hand, I don't think he trusts it fully, or he keeps on re-aggravating it and it's stopping him from fighting equally with both arms. That's just my view. Obviously, he won. He's still a big name in our space. And there's still obviously going to be fights out there for him. Joey Knight would fight him in a heartbeat. Rimuru, a.k.a. Lil Cray Cray, would fight him in a heartbeat. I believe the Argentinian King would fight him in a heartbeat. Especially after this pulley performance, I think people will be even more likely to fight him now. So he's going to... Obviously, Waleed would want the third fight as well. And I actually think Fox the G would probably take that fight too. So he's got no shortage of options, but I'm worried about Dean the Great because I don't know how healthy that arm is, that hand is. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Am I looking too much into it, or am I onto something? I'd love to see a healthy Dean prospering and flying. There was talk of him being one of the guys who could turn pro. And to be honest, I'm of that same mindset. Like, I think he's dope. But when you're not healthy, it's tough, man. It's tough. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. What did you think of the event? I'm going to do another video on that as well later on. But yeah, let me know. Peace. Love.